Some shows lean left, some lean right, but we lean local and business. This is North Georgia Business RadioX with Bo Henderson. For the next hour, we will celebrate the businesses in our area and the people that run them. Find us on Facebook at North Georgia Business RadioX and online at northgeorgiabusinessradiox.com. Now, here's Bo Henderson.
Okay, Bill, I don't know about you, but it seems like the longer I'm here in North Georgia, and that's been my whole life, right, that it seems to get hotter and hotter. And I don't know if that's just my age or what's going on. Have you noticed that?
Well, I'd rather not comment about age myself, Bo, but I think what I will say is it gets wetter and wetter, although I remember when I moved here in 1988, I remember that spring, it deluged every day. And that's when I started calling this place Rainsville, Georgia, instead of Gainesville, and I think it still fits.
Well, and it's been an extremely wet year this year, it seems like, as it is outside now.
Yes, I had to water my lawn once, thank goodness, and the good Lord took care of it the rest of the time.
Well, back to the heat. Now, one of the things I've had over the last couple years, I've had a couple issues with the air conditioning unit going out. And you realize...
Well, then you weren't using this company.
That's right. That's why we need to talk here. But I realized real quick how comfortable we've gotten with air conditioning and being able to have air conditioning, and having a house that's 82 degrees isn't very fun. So I think let's bring in our guest today and let's talk to how do we make sure this doesn't happen? What are they doing? You know, we just love to hear about our local businesses and what they're doing in the community.
Great. I'm delighted to introduce our listening audience to Conditioned Air Systems, a long-standing leadership company in the HVAC industry. We have with us the president, Andy Kalinauskas, and also the vice president of public relations and community development, Brooke Kalinauskas. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hey, how are y'all?
Well, you know, I always like to start with the beginning. So, guys, one, thanks for being here, but two, give us a little bit of the background history of conditioned air systems here.
Well, my dad, Doug Magnus, started Conditioned Air in 1983.
Okay.
He had worked with another heating and air company for about 20 years prior to that. And his father was also in the business, so he had been around the heating and air business his whole life.
It was practically in the genes.
Yep, it was. So, but he had a dream, and so in 1983, he began that dream in a small building over by Grove Street.
Okay.
I was very, very small, so I've seen pictures of it.
I know where that is.
Yes, but then they moved across the street on Grove Street for a long time.
Okay.
Well, one thing about your father, Doug, is that he not only helped build the industry, but he's been a very significant community leader as well. And I know that's, you might want to say something about that being a part of the company's philosophy, the giving back, the supporting charitable causes. Talk about that a little bit, please.
Well, that's always been super important to him, and as it was my granddad who kind of passed that on to all of us. We were always told to give a little, save a little, and spend a little. He still writes that on the Christmas cards to our children, so I'm sure that will go on for a long time. We're super involved in Eagle Ranch and Choices, the Boys and Girls Clubs. And there's not really many things he doesn't like to be a part of.
Well, and that's what we've noticed on this show, and it's just like your business is, it's our local business owners that really support a lot of the things that go on in this community, a lot of these great organizations. So, Andy, I'm gonna jump to you here.
Sure.
So we've got a little bit of the history in the background. Now tell us kind of you guys, your role today, because we started with Brooke. Brooke's story started as a little girl, all right? So the role today.
My role today is obviously I graduated college in 1999 and moved to Gainesville in 2001 with Brooke. I started in the HVAC industry there in 2001. Since then, I've grown, learning the industry. It's a very rewarding industry, and there's not a day that goes by that I don't learn something about it. So for the last 18, 19 years, I've been working in the business, and there's been an opportunity to come aboard or become the president, and that happened in 2017. So since 2017, I've got my general contractor's license, so we can work on general contract work as well. And I've since married Brooke, obviously, and jumped over that part.
Long time ago.
Long time ago. So jumped over that part, but love Gainesville, love the area. Don't see myself leaving anytime soon. So
Ever.
proud to be a part.
So it continues to be a family business, just growing the family.
Correct.
So this is, I like to mix the business with people getting to know you guys. So what's the secret? You guys act like you're getting along and you work together.
They act like it, yes.
Is there any kind of secret to that?
She stays at home a lot.
Okay. Y'all have very distinct roles, and I like
He
that.
works on a day-to-day basis with my sister. So, yep.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Bo, I think one thing, getting back to the company's charitable involvement, since you, Bo, we mention quite often, very proudly, you're a former Georgia Bulldog player. And I would say University of Georgia has been a very important part of the Conditioned Air family.
It has. And we also, as a family, have our own family foundation. So Georgia has definitely been huge. We don't miss Saturdays in Athens. And I'm really sad what this year's going to look like. That was one of the first things that had to get Andy used to, because he went to Penn State. So he's doing well now. He sets up the trailer and he actually...
Can he woof woof? Can
yes,
he bark?
he can yell. And my kids are on the Georgia train for sure.
Indoctrinated, I like that.
Yes.
So, yeah, can you do the whole Go Dogs, Andy? I like it.
Sure.
It's required on this show, isn't it, Bo?
That's right.
Well, we brought up sports is one thing, Brooke. You're right. It's going to be a unique season, but how have you guys been navigating business? Has that changed your business significantly, or what are you doing to address this very bizarre 2020 that we've been having?
I'll let Andy answer that. I mean, we've had to do the normal things as everyone, the mask and the social distancing and checking the fevers and making sure. I mean, a lot of times you have to depend on if you don't feel well, you need to stay home. So we've really tried to let our employees know that. I mean, prayerfully, nothing. We hadn't had anything so far, and we've been going strong since the beginning because everyone wants air conditioned when it's 95 degrees.
I was going to say, that doesn't stop.
It didn't go away. So
No. Business has stayed pretty much the same throughout the whole pandemic.
And your technicians still go into homes and into businesses.
Yeah, and there's some extra steps they're taking now versus, prior to the pandemic. We do like to, stay 6 feet away as long as possible. We like to wear the mask, pretty much follow the CDC guidelines. The guys all have hand sanitizer. We gave them all hand sanitizer, so they use that on a regular basis.
I know in the beginning our coordinators would call like the day of and say, make sure everyone was healthy before we put someone in a home or, vice versa. That's probably calmed down a little bit, but I know we were doing that in the very beginning.
Just to make sure they feel comfortable with us entering their home. So,
And that's the other thing. So was there anything coming out of all this and all these extra steps, anything that might be something positive that came out of it that might help us moving forward? And it's gonna. I ask in my business, I've had to learn to embrace technology more in our clients too. So I just didn't know if there was something with maybe even just the interacting with clients and some of the social distancing that might come out the other side. That hey, this was actually a good thing that came out of this.
yeah, one thing that's really, this pandemic has really forced us to become paperless and start doing things with iPads, whether it's invoicing, billing, payments, all those kind of associated things. It's really forced us to essentially go paperless, and that's been a goal of ours for years.
I don't know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's just we've just never had anything push us towards that, and it finally has. So
no, and I've noticed that too. That some of this has pushed forward objectives that we just never had time to get around to getting done. So yeah, so some good
100%
things.
correct.
And what's the old saying? Necessity is the mother of invention.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, so one of the things I want to do, guys, when we come back, I want to talk a little more about, what kind of businesses you work in, your ideal client base. And I even want to do a little vision casting. We talked about coming to where we are today, but I even like to get your ideas and thoughts about where we might be 3, 5 years, 10 years down the road. We'll get to that and a lot more when we come back, right here on North Georgia Business RadioX.
Bo, we're having a great conversation here with Conditioned Air Systems, learning a lot about the company, and we want to learn a little bit more. In fact, I'd like to ask Andy and Brooke, how wide is your service area? I know we mentioned Gainesville, but I don't think you're just confined to the city limits here. So how wide an area do you serve?
Typically, we're within an hour and a half drive of Gainesville, Georgia. It's typically our radius of where we like to service. Now, obviously, there's some customers that might have a lake home, which might be outside that service area. So obviously, we take care of that for them as well. So typically, driving to the location is not a hindering factor.
So one of the things I wanted to talk about too was kind of the service offering, or maybe kind of what's the focus, or there's certain clientele that you prefer or specialize in, or kind of what's the range of services?
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that Conditioned Air has a residential department. We started off over on Grove Street as primarily a commercial contractor. Since then, we've grown significantly in the residential market. It takes all of us, to be successful. So I can't really, pinpoint residential, commercial, light commercial. There's a lot of variety there, but we do maintain and service anything from a window unit to centrifugal chiller. So, okay. I mean, we handle pretty much anything that's out there.
So any need?
Any need.
Okay.
That's correct.
I think one of the most important observations that I've made about your company is I've known you over the years, and it's a great reflection on how you treat your team, and that is that you might speak for a minute about how many long-term employees you have. There's a tendency of many people to job hop, to move, to look for a better salary, better benefits, different working conditions, different people to work for, but your company's had great stability. And talk a little bit about that and what you attribute that to.
Well, good leadership, first of all, is what I contribute that to, and that would be, the owner, Doug, who's since kind of stepped away as president, and that's where I filled in his role. But he does have a high standard for his employees, and he expects a lot out of them, but he gives a lot in return. We have, just off the top of my head, roughly 10 to 15 employees which have over 20 years experience and have been working for Conditioned Air that long. So, I think that goes to complement what you were just talking about, that we have longstanding employees that we try and take care of, and we love them as family, and we want them to continue to be a strong asset for Conditioned Air Systems while making themselves a stronger individual and a good person as well.
Well stated. And of course, one of the factors I see, there are many benefits to that. One particularly would be the morale of the group, but I also see that it saves you from having to spend an enormous amount of time in recruiting and training. You've got the same people.
Definitely correct. Not having to spend your resources searching for new talent is definitely an advantage. And if you can hold on to what you have and work with, we always like to try and hire for the personality and train them to do the job. That's kind of the motto when we try and hire people. Because if you go the other route, you end up with somebody that might be very knowledgeable, but they don't represent you very well.
Now, I've got a question. I'm thinking, okay, we need you guys when we have to have some maintenance, some things repaired, all the things we need you, but this is an educational piece I'm looking for here, okay? Mm-hmm. Is there anything I could do or our listeners could do just to better maintain their equipment or their units in between?
Yes.
Okay.
Depends on your capabilities, obviously.
Right.
A lot of our customers have trouble getting underneath a house to change a filter. Obviously, changing a filter is very, very important. Without airflow, you cause mechanical problems with the system, and it eventually will fail. So you got to, regularly change the filter. The other item that a homeowner could possibly do is clean the outdoor coil. Grass clippings, things along that get blown into the side of the unit. There again, it's restricting airflow and causing the unit to run at a higher temperature than it should, and thus should be cleaned and maintained. You can typically do that with a garden hose. I wouldn't, obviously use anything abrasive that might be abrasive to metal, that might eat the metal.
Would you do that while the unit is running?
No, I would definitely turn it off. So that's where it gets into how technically advanced you are as to handling mechanical things such as that. So you definitely would like to turn the power off when you're spraying water on it. Things like that. So it's always best to let somebody that really has been to schooling and kind of knows the ins and outs of the unit before you attack it yourself.
Right.
But I always not motivate the guys, but the customer. If the customer is asking you how to do it, show them how to do it. That's that just makes everybody better. Yeah, makes everybody better.
Is there? So I have a feeling, just from my experience with other things, a lot of times people call after there's a problem. Is there any kind of like maintenance to make it say, "Hey guys, I want you to come out once, twice a year and make sure all this is kept up"?
Yep, we do have maintenance contracts that we offer for residential, commercial customers, and typically we send out reminder cards typically it's twice a year. And we send out reminder cards every 6 months, and we ask that they call in and schedule their maintenance. And if they don't, then we try and reach out to them with phone calls and emails and that kind of thing. So
that sounds like my speed. Let's get somebody that knows what they're doing to keep on top of it. Now, this made me curious when we said this. I've had some places over the years with some really tiny crawl spaces. Do you have like a real little person that y'all have sometimes to get in those spots?
You laugh, but yes, we do. And he comes in very handy.
What do you see with conditioned air systems the next maybe 3, 5, 10 years down the road? What's next?
Well, obviously we've been very successful in the HVAC side of the business, both residential, commercial, and heavy commercial. There's been recent discussions about maybe expanding our areas of expertise, meaning possibly offering a plumbing service and then also an electrical service as well, because a lot of what we do as HVAC technicians and mechanics is related to both electrical and plumbing.
Right.
So it kind of fits that we would offer those services as well. So we're kind of looking at possibly expanding and offering more of a service to our customers so that they can call one place and their problems and issues are handled with one company versus multiples.
And I think the market's changed too. I mean, especially with all that's going on. I mean, we've done a lot of schools. We really don't know what's going to happen with that. So medical still, we'd love to get more into the medical field as far as commercially. We do some for sure, but get into that more. So we just have to change with the changing times, I guess.
And there's something to be said for not only having, I trust this company with this, so I know I can trust them with these, but you know what's going on in these other components of their house and their life, right? I mean, that's a big difference. It's
right.
My analogy is with the world I do is it's when your attorney talks to your CPA and talks to your financial advisor, everybody's on the same page. So I think that would be very powerful to say, hey, I've got a home team, right? Yeah.
Well, just for example, we had a technician out at a home that a plumbing company put a hot water heater in and didn't vent it. There's carbon monoxide entering the house. And our technician was there doing the HVAC maintenance, looks up and sees the vent missing off a hot water heater. So, luckily he was unhurt, but, there again, we're supposed to be experts in the HVAC field, and we had a great technician on site who identified that issue and, turned off the hot water heater before it became a real problem.
A big issue.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I'll tell you, I'm excited as we've talked about this. I'm excited about seeing the next 3, 5, 10 years and some of these things come to fruition. I just want to thank you guys for sharing a little bit about the business, the background, the things you're doing in your community, and how you're handling this 2020 pandemic. And I'm just looking forward to seeing conditioned air systems in our community growing and moving forward. So thanks, Brooke, Andy. Thanks so much for coming out.
Thank you.
Bill, I think this has been another great business, another great show.
Absolutely, and great things are ahead for this company as they've had a wonderful foundation, and they're going to springboard from here, we can tell.
Well, and for people listening and say, hey, you know what, I'm looking for that, what's the best way to connect?
Call us at website, conditionedairsystems.com, 1-800-AC-REPAIR. We're all over.
Okay, fine.
You can find us, yes.
Reach out.
The WDUN website. Yeah.
All right, guys, thanks again, and look forward to having you back in the future. All right, Bill, it's been another great show. We'll see you next week, right here, same time, same place, on North Georgia Business RadioX. You know, on North Georgia Business RadioX, we talk a lot about businesses in our community. But one of the things I don't know that we talk enough about is beauty and art. And I'm excited today, Dr. Bill, that we have some guests that can really speak to that.
We absolutely do, and it's a pleasure, Bo, to welcome from Gallery on the Square, Ruth Money and Lydia Ferguson. I asked them if they had any official titles. They said they don't care for that. They are artists, and they love to promote art.
I think that's a great title, artist. How about that?
Yes, and I believe one of the points that we should explore at first is, why do we have art? Is it a luxury? Is it a necessity? Is it worth spending time and money and attention on? Is it worth teaching children? So Ruth and Lydia, respond to that for us, please.
Art is life. Life is art. Without art, life would not be worth living. And you might consider a practical business point of view. As you probably know, when businesses are looking for a good place to start up or expand their business or move to Gainesville, they think about their children and their education first and the quality of that. Secondly, they want to know about the arts in the community, not only visual arts and painting like we have, sculpture and pottery, but also the performing arts. Any sort of art makes a community. Symphonies, which unfortunately we've had, but we don't have now, but hopefully we'll get it back. But any sort of good music or art of any kind.
It enriches life.
It enriches life. It makes life worth living.
When you think about it, everything you do every day is art. You know, the way you talk, the way you sing, you know, the way you visit with your friends. That's an art approach to life, I think. My sister and I have paintings that our great-grandmother did when she was a young woman, and we cherish those so much. And I hope that some of my paintings will find their way to maybe my great-grandchild or my great-great-grandchild. And you know, it just keeps going on and on and on.
It's a part of your legacy.
Mm-hmm. And we're talking about some things like painting and sculpting, but I love that you guys kind of opened up that definition. Would you say art's anything that we apply some kind of creative aspect to? I mean, it could be business, life, I mean, anything.
Absolutely. Think of the windows in your church, for goodness sakes. Gorgeous art. Think of God's art, was what I call God's art. Everything outside you, the beautiful flowers and mountains and scenery, that's all art.
And also athletics, I think.
Really?
The way athletes move, the way they approach their, whatever it is, their sport that they accomplish, they are doing something artistic.
Right, it's a true art. I can see that. Ladies, will you talk a little bit about, to you, kind of what your journey is or what art's meant to you specifically, and maybe a little bit about what you do now, whether it's the painting or the sculpting, and just, I want our listeners to get to know you guys specifically, and then we'll get back to the gallery.
Go ahead.
Oh, let's see. I have been doing art my whole life. My mother says that I do not have an article of clothing that does not have paint on it somewhere or glue or something. And just have always had her dining room table piled up with scraps of paper or little sketches or whatever.
Started when you were a kid?
I did. I'm a military child, so my sister and I, when we traveled so much and moved so much, that art was our salvation.
It was in one steady part of your life.
Yeah, it really was. And so about 25 years ago, I got kind of serious with it as far as oil painting is concerned. I had a friend that mentioned to me she was going to be teaching some classes, and so I started then and picked up some workshops and picked up some other techniques from friends and painters, and now I really enjoy it. It's soothing, sometimes frustrating, but it's really a wonderful part of my life.
And Ruth, how about you?
Pretty much the same. Of course, I am 88 years old, and so I've lived a long time. But I did doodle and draw all over my school papers when I was supposed to be, doing something more serious. And but I did not major in art in college because I didn't think I could make a living in anything. Now, of course, it's certainly different with graphic arts, and teaching is more prevalent now. But when I was probably 50 or 60, I lived in Chattanooga, Tennessee at the time, and I took quite a few courses in art at the college there. And I took them for credit, but it was also just to get me involved, because I knew I wanted to be involved in some way. And there's a wonderful museum there, the Hunter Museum of American Art. It has probably the largest collection of American art in the Southeast, and I was a docent there for 12 years. And that taught me a lot more about art. So, and then, of course, we have coming through the Quinlan and some other locations close around, we have perfectly wonderful, nationally renowned artists teaching.
Wow.
And I have my daughter here is an artist, as you know, Ann Goebel, and when I moved here 15 years ago, she said, "Mother, you're going to get serious about your art," and gave me paints, and she gave me a list of people that I should take under when they come to Quinlan. And I did, and that was a great way to become a little bit accomplished. And then I started entering shows, and shout out to the Quinlan for having people like that, of that caliber here, and of helping us along the way.
So no plans, I hear, to stop learning, stop experimenting.
Oh, no, you
stop
don't ever
growing.
stop learning, right? No.
No, I hope not.
No. Because there's always someone who has a new technique or a new style or something that you're eager to learn.
I think what comes to my mind with what both of you have said about developing your art, there may be many people who have a degree of innate talent and they don't know it. But it's like any skill. You have to identify that that's an interest of yours, and it's not as though a painting just appears. It takes, as you say, training. It takes years of development. It takes stimulating the imagination, and like anything else you learn, there's a trial and failure. And but there must be many people who do not develop or attempt to develop what could be a joy in learning art.
Well, not everybody has the opportunity.
Yes.
So you're certainly right about that.
There are a lot of people that come in the gallery that say, "Oh, I can't draw a straight line or a stick figure or whatever," and I say, "Oh no, you can do it. You just have to believe in yourself."
Well, that was my question as we're talking through this. We get busy with careers, raising families, but I think innately in all of us, there's some desire to be creative and to do art. What do you say to that person? Because you guys are great examples of this, to that person that they're telling themselves this story, "I waited too long to start. I really don't have any talent." That's not the message. It's not about competing with somebody else, right? It's about...
No, I was 75 when I really got serious about it. So,
There you go.
I can say that. And
Wonderful Exhibit A right there.
if you want to draw a straight line, that's what rulers are for. We don't have to draw a straight line. We know how to do that. So I think I've debated, and I'd like to know what Lydia thinks about the talent and how much weight you give to talent and how much weight you give to education in the arts. I personally have come to the conclusion that talent doesn't have to be very great. You have to have a passion for it. But I think education is more important than talent. What do you think, Lydia?
I think you're right about that. There are people, oh my goodness, there are people that can just, just do it right straight from the start. And, their paintings, their artwork, their drawings are just incredible. But they work at it. It's not like, just a right out of the gate. I don't think that's the term. I get my idioms mixed up. But anyway, I think that's it. But, I think that after you discover that it is a passion, then probably going and getting some education. Although I have to say, Mary Engelbright is a wonderful illustrator, and she refused to take art because she did not want to be tainted by someone else's idea of what art was. And I'm sure some of your listeners know who she is. She's really wonderful card artist.
So for our first step, I have an idea what you guys might say. I'm interested. What would you say? Hey, go sign up for a class and experiment. If I'm interested in participating or getting a little more into some kind of expression of creativity and art.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely. And I would make some effort to help them decide where to go and to whom they should work under.
And you've already said, Ruth, there's great resources right here in our community.
Absolutely.
Amazing resources.
Incredible.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Well, getting to know these guys here, and what I want to do when we come back is talk specifically about the gallery on the square. We'll talk a little bit about the history and where things are going. But I'm excited, Bill. This is a great conversation.
Yes, and I remember as a kid doing a good bit of scribbling. I suppose a lot of kids have an idea about what they want to do when they grow up, and for some odd reason, I drew photos. I drew sketches of a deep sea diver. Oh. that was my fantasy. Eventually, I did some scuba diving. But I, of course, never did that professionally.
So you had the whole big helmet and everything?
Yeah, oh yes. I had the helmet, the hose, the bubbles, the big heavy outfit. That was my early fantasy.
I'm Bo Henderson here with Dr. Bill Lampton. We're talking to Ruth Money and Lydia Ferguson from Gallery on the Square. We'll be right back with more right here on North Georgia Business RadioX. So the Gallery on the Square, fascinating conversation, Bill. It's been a resource in our community for a while now. Having a great conversation with Ruth Money and Lydia Ferguson here. And what I would like to do for our listeners is let's just give them the kind of the history. How did it come to be? How did the Gallery on the Square come to be? And kind of, I know it's had a couple of locations and things like that. So let's just go back and bring it to date.
I'll start, and Lydia can pick up what she remembers. You may remember that in 2009 there was a sort of a dip in the economy.
The real estate.
Sort of, yes. Yes.
Little.
And there were quite a few storefronts on the square that were empty, and some of them weren't in very good shape either. So a kind landlord gave us a storefront. It was 110?
Yeah.
110, 210 Washington Street.
Okay.
And there was actually a wonderful space. It needed a lot of cleanup and
paint
and a lot of things, and we didn't have much money to do anything with. But the good news is this kind landlord gave us that space if we would clean it up and paint, which we did ourselves, and he would take, I remember, 15% of our sales. So that's how we got started, and it was a very good start. Of course, eventually the economy got much better, and somebody came along and offered him real money for the space. So
So
we had to move.
Yeah, we had to move off the square, which we were all sad about.
Yeah, we were very sad. We were down on Main Street.
Because the square gets so much traffic, foot
Absolutely.
traffic. Yes.
So we were down on Main Street for a while in a big space, and we could pay the rent by that time, so that was an improvement. But it was not as good a location, so we were happy when we were able to get back up on the square in the where we are now, except behind it. So
it was Main Street Market.
Main Street Market, except behind where we are now. So we were there for several years, and then this space where we are now became available. And we painted that and cleaned it up.
I see a pattern here, right?
Yeah.
You just come fix it up.
So we're real happy where we are now.
I'm sure they do a good paint job.
I was going to say, bring in the painters.
Yes.
A lot of detail.
I bet.
But we were excited because it was a storefront.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, what goes on there? I know there's art displayed there. What is the function of the gallery? You have people come in, any classes? I mean, what all goes on at the gallery?
We display our art. There's 9 of us painters.
Okay.
And should I tell you their names?
Yeah. Who are the painters?
Yay.
This is a highlight.
The painters, Ann Goebel, Fran Hazel, Ann Brody Hill, Paula Hoffman, Joyce Horner, Ruth Money. We have a new artist just coming in, Deborah Needlehofer and Connie Riley, and we're all local. We have a sculptor, Jane Hemmer, beautiful work, and Pam Kohler Camp, who is the potter, and her pottery is fabulous. A lot of us can't resist it when she brings it in, so we're all collectors. But those are the artists, and we each take turns work in the gallery. We're open short amount of time now.
What are your days and hours?
Okay. Now we're open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 12 to 5. Because of the virus, we kind of limited our hours. Some of the artists are not able to work in the gallery, hosting the gallery. And we each have an area of the gallery, about 10 linear feet, and then of wall space, and then it goes up. And that's where we display our art, each one of us. And about every 3 months, we have fruit basket turnover, and we change our walls. We all move around and keep it fresh.
And you've had, as I recall, some open houses in the evening where people can get off from work and come by.
Yes. Our receptions have been a big boost to the gallery, I think, and we've enjoyed them too. We've had about 3 receptions a year, 5 to 7 in the evening, usually a Thursday, because that's the art reception night. And we invite people that have come into our gallery and given us their email. So if you would like to be invited to one of our receptions, come in the gallery and sign the book with your name and email. However, now with COVID, we're not, of course, allowed to have a reception, so we're going to have I'll let Lydia tell you about that.
Okay, it's exciting. We've decided to have a pop-up sale, which are really fun right now, and it will be October 15th, 16th, and 17th, and we're going to expand our hours 12 to 7, and we will have 2 artists demoing each day, doing paintings, and we will all be bringing in our extra inventory that we can't fit on our walls right now because we're limited in space. So we're going to bring them and set them around and just have a lot of extra art. And it's kind of in lieu of our reception because it's just, not what we can do right now. But if we spread it out over 3 days, we thought that it might be safe enough for everyone to come.
So there's still an opportunity to come out and see what's there.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I want to talk about when we come back is, I know that community support has played a big role in what you guys do there. So, ladies, any final thoughts for our listeners as far as the gallery, or you can talk about art, but this is just kind of the parting shot here.
come to our pop-up in October.
I like it.
And if you are interested in art, please try your hand at it.
Yeah.
I like it. Dr. Bill, it's been fun.
Fascinating.
We've been talking about Gallery on the Square with Ruth Money and Lydia Ferguson, and we'll see you next week, same time. We'll see you next week, same time, same place, right here on North Georgia Business Radio X.
You've been listening to North Georgia Business Radio X with Bo Henderson. What local business do you know that should be highlighted on our program? Let us know. Just search North Georgia Business Radio X on Facebook or contact Bo at businessradiox.com. Thanks for listening. See you next time. And remember to support our local businesses.